Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. Today is going to be some college football for the first time this year. We meant to do predictions for this, um, but never really got to that. We did finish all the NFL ones, so if you want to check that out, go ahead. But we never did any of the college football predictions for the year. I mean, technically, this is going to be slightly kind of like projections for the year as I'm going to go through the top 25. Also, normally I go from the top to the bottom. I'm switching it up this year, and I'm going to start from the bottom and then make my way up to the top. Because this is really where the most action really is, and the top teams are really what matter the most. So I'll save that for last. But so this is so if you're wondering, this is my reaction to the preseason top 25. Also, if you're hearing a lot of, if you're seeing a lot of like flashing, or if you're hearing a lot of booming, that's because there is a nasty thunderstorm rolling through here right now, and it is crazy. So if you hear anything like that, that's why. Anyways, moving on. We got the new top 25 here. Well, the preseason top 25. Anyway, let's get this ship rolling here, and we start with the 25th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa's is my favorite, honestly, to come out of the Big Ten West this year. Several transfers coming in for this team. Obviously, the biggest one being from Michigan, Cade McNamara. He comes in with his tight end as well, and Eric All. Iowa, I think, also got a transfer from Ohio State at wide receiver. I think this Iowa offense is going to be a lot better than it was a year ago, and their defense has always held up, and I see no reason why their defense wouldn't hold up again this year. I have high expectations for the Hawkeyes. I think this is going to be a very good year for Iowa. Number 24 is the Tulane Green Wave. I don't know why on earth this team is ranked. Um, the Green Wave, I mean, they had a fantastic year last year. I'm not going to argue that. But I'm gonna be totally honest with you. They've lost a lot. A lot of the guys of which made that team so good last year, I'm pretty sure are gone. Specifically, Tajay Spears, their really good running back. Their running back is out the window. So, I mean, other than just simply to say, yeah, they were great last year, so we're just gonna throw them on here again. I don't see the point of making Tulane a ranked team, but that's my opinion, not theirs, I suppose. But Tulane's a solid team. I'm sure they'll be one of, if not the team, they'll be probably a team to beat in the American. Maybe UTSA, who's now joined the conference, but I think Tulane's probably the front runner with UTSA to win the American this year. At number 23, we have the Texas A&M Aggies. What a flop of a team they were last year. The number one recruiting class in the country. It was historically good how many top, ESPN 300 recruits they were able to reel in, and yet it ended up just coming out to a 5-7 year, and it was unbelievable just how they went from being, possible playoff contender, they're gonna be the best of the best, to they don't even make a bowl game, and obviously. I think they're a complete wild card. Of course, they find their way into the top 25 this year at 23. They could be very good. They also could be very bad. I mean, there's no really, and for me, there's no in between for Texas A&M. They're not gonna have like an 8-4, 7-5 type year. They're gonna be like again 5-7, 4-8, or they're gonna go like 11-1, 10-2. I don't see there being a middle ground for this Aggie team. They're a complete wild card. Who the heck knows what you're going to get out of Texas A&M? But this is a solid team for sure. If they put it all together, they can be dangerous, but that's going to require the Aggies to actually put everything together. But definitely an interesting team. Definitely someone to look at. Number 22, we have the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, once again, an ACC, SEC team. The Ole Miss is a decent team. They have a bit of a logjam at quarterback with now having Spencer Sanders, Walker Howard, a transfer from LSU. Sanders, of course, transfer from Oklahoma State. And then former USC transfer Jackson Dart, all in the QB room. Now, I believe they have said that Jackson Dart is going to be the starter, which makes me wonder, first of all, why would Sanders, who would, and why on earth would Spencer Sanders, you know, I keep blanking out. Why would Spencer Sanders transfer from Oklahoma State, first of all, then second of all, go to Ole Miss, where there's already you know, a uh, a starter that they're very confident in. I mean, unless you think you could waltz in there and take away the job from him, it doesn't make any sense. But he transferred to Ole Miss. Ole Miss overall is a decent team. They always seem to lack a defense, but the offense always seems to be pretty good. Of course, that's how Lane Kiffin teams work. They should be good again. I don't think they'll be dominant, and they'll just be a solid SEC team, but um, not much more. Um, so moving on, we have the North Carolina Tar Heels at number 21. Kind of similar to Ole Miss, this team doesn't really have much of a defense. They really lack defensive capability, but of course their offense is run through and around Drake May, who is a Heisman candidate and is a nasty good quarterback. Um, he's going to be a lethal weapon once again. Of course, they do lose Josh Downs, their top receiver, to the NFL. But I'm sure North Carolina will find a way to still manufacture offense. I'm sure Drake May will figure out a way to manufacture offense. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. This is a great Tar Heel squad. We'll have a fantastic matchup between the Carolina schools in North and South Carolina playing at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, which is home of the Carolina Panthers. So that should be a very fun game. Must-watch TV. I believe that's a Saturday night game on ABC. What was it, September 2nd, I think, is that Saturday. Whatever Saturday week one is. But that should be a very fun game. I think the Tar Heels will have a great year. Now, the ACC did get rid of divisions, so whether or not they make the ACC title is going to be, I think, pretty much dependent on and how Clemson and Florida State do. But I think if one of those two ends up flopping, then the Tar Heels are the next man up. Now moving on to number 20, we have the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma is another interesting team. A lot of transfers for this team. Of course, they got hit pretty hard last year with the Lincoln Riley effect, of which he not only just left the team, but also took half the team with him. So that obviously really hurt Oklahoma in terms of recruiting, in terms of just, the team in general. And they plummeted to 6-7 last year. They did still make a bowl game, and they played Florida State, and they actually were close, but they still lost. Of course, this year they have a bunch more. They have a lot of transfers coming in. They have a lot of recruits coming in. I think Oklahoma's going to be a lot better. Will they win the Big 12? That I don't know, but Oklahoma is certainly going to be significantly improved from a year ago. Way more, way more talent in this team than there was a season ago. And I mean, this is Oklahoma. It's norm. It's the Sooners. It's Oklahoma. Obviously, they're going to be good. They almost always are. I think Brent Venables, second year now, that ship will get turned around eventually. Will it take maybe another year or two? Yeah, sure. I mean, you don't just lose over half your team and over half your recruits and recover in a year. That doesn't happen. So Oklahoma is starting to right the ship, but it might still take a little bit of some time. Still still a good team though, and they still do have a shot at the Big 12. In what will be actually their last year in the Big 12 as they're moving on to the SEC, which, by the way, of course, I'm sure everybody knows, but there has been a crud ton of movement in college sports with conferences, so that's going to come up at least a couple times in this video. Number 19, we have the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin also had a lot of these teams have had a lot of transfers, but kind of like Iowa, Oklahoma, Ole Miss got some transfers. Wisconsin got a bunch of transfers too. Their starting quarterback, I believe, is going to be Tanner Mordecai, SMU transfer. Of course, they have still Braylon Allen at running back, which is a pretty nasty running back, if you ask me. The defense should be okay. I think Wisconsin will be a decent team. It's between them or Iowa for the Big Ten West. The Big Ten did not get rid of divisions yet. But it should be interesting which one of those two ends up winning a division. I think it'll be pretty close. I do have the Hawkeyes of Iowa just eking it out, but I think Wisconsin's got just as good a chance as them. Badgers should have a solid year. They do have a home game against Ohio State, which is pretty rough. Of course, they also have to play Iowa. I believe that one, though, is at home. But overall, it should be an interesting season for the Badgers. New head coach in town, and Luke Fickell coming in from Cincinnati. Of course, they fired Paul Chryst. So we'll see how the new changes in Madison go for Badger Nation. We have number 18, the Oregon State Beavers, now led by, of course, DJ Uyagale, or as Strabansky likes to say, DJ Ukulele. He has won the starting job, so he will be the starting QB for Oregon State. Oregon State had a really good year last year. Kind of came out of absolutely nowhere, and now they have a quarterback who has shown talent and has shown that he can be good, but hasn't really filled it out yet. Obviously, lost the job in Clemson once what's his name, Cade Klubnik started to, they let him take hold of the offense, and he never really let go of it. So DJ said, "Yeah, let's find another place to go." So he did just that. Oregon State, though, is a pretty good team. Of course, they're actually one of the very few teams still remaining in the Pac-12, as there's only 4 teams remaining, guys. If you guys don't know that, yeah. It was the Pac-12. It's now the Pac-4 because USC and UCLA left, then Colorado left, then Arizona pushed their way out. Then Washington and Oregon left. And then Utah and Arizona State just out Arizona. Just decided to join up with AZ and head out as well. Which now leaves Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State as the only 4 teams left in the Pac-12. And Cal and Stanford are already being considered as possible additions for the ACC, which feels really weird because those are Pacific Coast teams, and you're talking about adding them to the Atlantic Coast Conference. It just sounds off. But anyways, That's not what we're here to talk about. But Oregon State, solid team. They'll have a solid year. They're obviously not going to go to the playoff or anything like that. I don't think playoff aspirations are really in line in Corvallis, but they'll have a good year. They might compete for a Pac-12 Pac-12 title. That's going to be tough with how many good teams there are in the Pac-12, though. So, still, not to say that they're not going to have a good season. I very much expect Oregon State to have a very good season. And then at number 17, we have the TCU Horned Frogs, much to the TCU. This is not a. This team wasn't really all that special last year, but of course the Wolverines just decided to not play football and let them win, and then we had the worst national championship game ever. Um, and now TCU has lost their quarterback, they've lost their top receiver, and they've lost their number one running back. When you lose all that production, it becomes very hard to recover. I think they're obviously just ranked at 17, just respect to the fact that they actually made it to the national championship game last year. So I don't expect TCU to be very good. 7-5, I honestly would think would be the top for them. Maybe 8-4 if they're lucky, but they're not a great team. As I said, they lost just too much. They lost too much production, and too much of their team is gone and is in the NFL. So I'm not all very much inclined by the Horned Frogs. Kansas State ranked number 16. Obviously, they spoiled TCU's perfect year by beating them in the Big 12 title game and winning a Big 12 title before losing to Bama in a not so great game, and I believe it was the Sugar Bowl. But Kansas State, they're an okay team. No Adrian Martinez for them. But they will have Will Howard still, who will now take over at QB. He might be better than Adrian Martinez. Um, Kansas State should be pretty good. I think they'll be a top team in the Big 12, and they'll be competing for a Big 12 title this year. It should be a solid year for Kansas State. Of course, they do lose Deuce Vaughn, which does suck, but Kansas State I think should be fine this year. Then we have the Oregon Ducks at number 15. Um, Oregon is obviously very good. They have plenty of playmakers over in Eugene. Very very good team. Lot of expectations on Oregon. I think they'll be one of the top teams in the Pac-12, competing for a title. And then right above them, we have another Pac-12 team who has been the bane of Oregon's existence, and that is Utah. And Utah is a decent team. They do lose Dalton Kincaid. Utah also will still have Cam Rising, though. Utah's okay. I think Oregon's probably better than them, but not to say that Utah's bad because they certainly are not. Utah's certainly a very good team. Um, but I think Oregon's just a little bit above them. Of course, Oregon hasn't had a great history with Utah, but I think the Ducks are just a slightly better overall team than Utah. Still, Utah should be very good, and they should have another really good season. Then number 13, we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who, and Utah, like I said, Oregon's gone. Utah left the Pac-12 as well. This is going to be both of their last years in the Pac-12, and will probably be the last year of the Pac-12 as we know it. But Notre Dame and all this has still remained an independent. Don't know what in the world they're thinking. Anyways, Notre Dame, ranked number 13. This is another solid team. Of course, they do lose Michael Mayer. Their quarterback transferred out as well, but he ended up transferring in a new guy in Sam Hartman from Wake Forest, who is a very good quarterback and should fit in very well for the Irish. This should be a very good year for them. They do have Ohio State coming to South Bend, So that will be a huge game for Notre Dame. Of course, they actually play in week 0 this year, as they will get to play the Navy midshipmen in their annual rivalry, of which Notre Dame pretty much almost always gives them a pretty simple butt whooping. um, and I'm sure they'll do something similar to that again this year. Yeah, spoiler alert for when our week 0 video comes out. Um, but Notre Dame's a solid team. Once again, just like a lot of these teams in this stretch here, they're pretty good. Notre Dame, they get some ACC teams. They did not draw Florida State. I don't know if they drew North Carolina or not. I know they got Clemson, and Clemson's on the road, so that should be that'll be tough. But Notre Dame's a solid team. You can expect some big things out of them. And then next up, we have number 12, Tennessee. I'm sorry, I am not buying into the Tennessee hype whatsoever. And there's really one reason why I'm not buying into the Tennessee hype at all, and that's because their quarterback is Joe Milton. Joe Milton. If you are a Michigan fan or a Michigan follower, you would know what Joe Milton looked like for the Wolverines. He was terrible. Does he have a big arm? Yes, he does. Can he throw very far? Yes, he does. He can. Does he know where it's going? Absolutely not. He has zero idea where that ball is going. Also, they lose their top 2 receivers in Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, which are huge losses when those were your best 2 options from a year ago. Of course, Tennessee does have their big hotshot freshman, true freshman QB as well, who don't ask me to pronounce his name because I have absolutely no idea. But they lose their top 2 receivers, and obviously, when you lose your top 2 receivers like that, it does tend to hurt. Now they do get a transfer from Oregon in Dante Thornton, who is I mean, he's a solid player, but one guy isn't going to replace the production of both Tillman and Hyatt, who were obviously huge parts of the offense from a year ago. And, obviously it really sucks to lose those guys to the NFL, but they lose both of them, and they'll have to try and replace them somehow. And after Tennessee now, but I'm not at all into Tennessee. Then you have number 11, the Texas Longhorns. Is this actually finally their year? As they always say, literally every year. Is this finally their season? Is this finally the year that they actually break through and actually do something? Honestly, I think it can. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Listen, Texas actually does have a very good roster. Yes, they lose Bijan Robinson. Yes, they even lose the guy that they had behind Bijan Robinson. But this team has a nasty good QB when healthy, and has a nasty good receiver. Xavier Worthy is disgusting, and Quinn Ewers is a very dangerous QB. Now, of course, he was hurt for a good portion of last year, but when he was healthy to start the season, he looked dynamite. He was carving up Bama, and then he got hurt, and of course that kind of put Texas dead in the water. But this is a very good Texas team. Of course, this is the last year for them as well in the Big 12, as they will also, along with Oklahoma, be heading to the SEC. But this Texas team is good. I mean, they have a somewhat legitimate shot of actually being a playoff contender. They do have Bama early in the year in Bama, so that's a huge game for the Longhorns. If they can win that one in Tuscaloosa, they have themselves a very good win on the resume. This is, of course, also the last year where it's going to be 4 teams. Next year, they're extending it to 12. So, yeah, I don't know about that. I still never will. But Texas, good team, and yeah, they're gonna be dangerous. Then at number 10, we have the Washington Huskies. Uh, yeah, I don't know about putting Washington in the top 10. They're certainly a good team, but top 10, I don't know. Top 10 just might be a tiny bit of a stretch. Michael Penix obviously is still the QB for this team, and Michael Penix is absolutely disgusting. I mean, there's a lot of disgusting QBs in the Pac-12. I mean, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, DJ Uyagale, you know, Cam Rising. I mean, the list just goes on with how many great QBs they have, and it never ends. I mean, it's pretty crazy how many good players they have in that system. And then for Washington, of course, they have several transfers coming in on offense to try and basically give them a little bit of a boost on the that's a little bit of a boost in the receiving core as well as at running back, just to kind of surround Michael Penix with options. And the defense, once again, should be okay at least. I mean, that was kind of what it was last year, as long as, I mean, Washington does put up enough points to beat everybody. So this is a good Washington team. Do I think they're gonna go to the playoff? No. But this is a good Washington team. I think they can definitely make a push for the Pac-12. I think there's a good chance that the Pac-12 teams all just, kind of, self implode and just beat each other up. But Washington is a solid team, and they will be a tough out all year long. Then we have number 9, the Clemson Tigers. Clemson is very dependent on how good Cade Klubnik is. The defense is expected to be good once again. The defense is probably going to be great once again. But the thing for Clemson is going to be Cade Klubnik. How good is Cade Klubnik? And also, can Garrett Riley, get that offense really going? Because now they brought in TCU's former offensive coordinator to run the offense, with, of course, losing both of their coordinators last year. Well, 2 years ago now, I guess. But they bring in a new offensive coordinator. Garrett Riley takes over the offense, and of course we saw what he did with TCU. So people are thinking, well, he could do the same thing here with Clemson, and I legitimately think that's possible. I think the team to be winning the ACC is going to be either Clemson or the team right above them. But yeah, these are both very good. This is a very good team. Clemson's pretty dangerous. Cade Klubnik pans out. Clemson could be a playoff contending team. If he doesn't, then they'll probably be similar to what they have been the past few years. Number 8, we have Florida State. This is a team I am very, very excited about. Florida State, one thing about this Seminole team, not only do they return almost essentially every single starter that they had from a year ago, but they also bring in a million transfers. And I mean a million transfers. And they bring in good transfers. It's not like they just brought in a bunch of transfers that mean nothing. They brought in good transfers. And they got guys back who are, NFL talents. I mean, they had a guy who was projected to be a top 10 pick, and he decided to come back. Florida State's got a load of talent. And they have tough games early in the year. They have LSU and Clemson, they have both LSU and Clemson in their first 4 weeks. So, 2 of their first 4 games are against LSU and Clemson, and they're on the road against Clemson. So obviously that's tough. But Florida State's dangerous. And if Jordan Travis did what he did at the end of last year, they have all the tools that they need. And the Seminoles are a scary looking team, and they're going to continue to be just that for a long time. I'm really excited about the Seminoles. I think they have a legitimate chance as well of going to the playoff. And pretty much everybody above Washington has a good chance of going to the playoff, has a really good chance of going to the playoff. But Florida State, I am very excited for. Do they kind of remind me of USC from a year ago? Yeah, but I think they're a little bit different. They have a lot more. They actually have a defense, and yeah. So Florida State, they're gonna be dangerous. Watch out for the Seminoles. Then next we have the Penn State Nittany Lions at number 7. Penn State is another very, very dangerous team. You bring in new QB to finally replace what seems to be like 30-year-old Sean Clifford. That guy has been in Penn State for like stinking ever. He's finally gone, and now we get to see basically the next coming of Big Ben, if it pans out that way, in Drew Aller, which is terrifying. Of course, they have Katron Allen, I think is how you pronounce it, and then Drew Singleton as their running backs, which is a nasty 1-2 punch. They also have some transfers in the receiving core, a nasty offensive line, and a outstanding defense. Penn State has a legitimate chance of going to a title, national title. I mean, obviously, in the Big Ten, they have to deal with both Ohio State and Michigan. They do get Michigan at home. They will be in Happy Valley for that game, but they get the Buckeyes at the Horseshoe. So obviously, those are the biggest 2 games of the year for Penn State. They also got to go to Illinois, which is not easy. Illinois has still got a couple players from their magical team a year ago who probably should have gone to the Big Ten title, but flubbed it away. But this Penn State team is very good, and they're going to be very tough. The most they're going to have is 2 losses. And I think there's a good chance that they go 11-1. I mean, and that means they'd beat Michigan or Ohio State, and I think that's exactly what they would do. I mean, they're that good. Watch out for Penn State. They're very good, and their running game is insanely talented. And then at number 6, we have the USC Trojans. USC. Yeah, they finally actually have defensive players. They finally figured out, oh yeah, we actually need to play defense. So they went out and got themselves a couple more recruits. They got a lot more transfers on defense. They of course lose Jordan Addison, but they still have Caleb Williams. They still have their big-time true freshman running back from a year ago, I'm pretty sure. And then they still have Mario Williams in the receiving core and Brenton Rice. And then, yeah, the list just goes on with a billion different high-end talented receivers that they have at USC. They're obviously still an offensive team. The defense is a bit of a question mark, but USC has got all the talent in the world. Whether or not they go to the title, we will see. But USC is insanely, insanely talented, and this very well could be the year that they break through and finally get to the playoff and possibly win a title. And it would not shock me at all. Then at number 5, we have the LSU Tigers. This is another really nasty team. Still holding on to Harold Perkins, which is a great defensive player on their team. Of course, they also have Jaden Davis, or not Jaden Davis, Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Davis is the Michigan QB. Let's not get that confused. But Jaden Daniels, excuse me. But Jaden Daniels still remains the QB for LSU, transfer from from Arizona State, and yeah, I mean they're a great team. I don't. There's not another way to really playing that. LSU, of course, won the SEC West a year ago, beating out Bama in quite a wild game. It was in Bama, but really LSU's got does a fantastic overall squad. There's not really another way of really putting that. This team's very good. And yeah, I mean they're incredibly dangerous. So much talent all over the roster. Um, they're gonna be nasty good. I think there's a good chance that they end up winning the that LSU ends up winning the SEC West again. I believe it's really them or Bama and maybe Texas A&M if Texas A&M flips the script, but LSU is dangerous, and LSU is going to be really good this year. And I got to tell you what, we're going to see Florida State and LSU right off the bat on Sunday night for week one, and that is going to be an absolutely phenomenal game. You do not want to miss that. And so moving on, we have next up, we have the top four teams here. And first is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Uh, I am not really all that sure about Bama at the moment, mostly just because of the QB question mark, because no one knows who the heck the quarterback's going to be. I mean, they have that Ty Simpson guy, they have Jalen Milroe, they have the new Notre Dame transfer and Tyler Buckner, and Bama has no clue who the QB is going to be. And if you've heard, I'm sure you guys have heard me say it before, but if you haven't, I will say it now. The quarterback is easily the most important position on the field. And my reasoning for that is because they're the ones getting the football literally all the time. Now you could say the center is also holding the football all the time too, but I mean the center obviously is an important position, but you guys get what I'm saying. The QB gets the football all the time, and the offense runs through the quarterback, quite literally, in some senses. But if you don't have a great quarterback to run your offense, it could be a problem. And you almost always, I mean, you look at teams who have had success over the years. They've almost always had a good quarterback. They've almost always had they always have a good QB. They have a guy who can effectively run the offense. And QBs don't necessarily have to be, game changers. I mean, is it nice they have a game changer? Yeah, sure, but you're not gonna find too many Caleb Williams everywhere. But guys like Cade McNamara are, is what every team is looking for. Just a guy who he's a game manager. He's gonna make the plays and you need him to, and he's gonna just get you, and he's gonna get you plays. When you call his number, he'll get you the play. Is he gonna make some circus throw to the end zone or dodge some guy miraculously? No, but he's gonna make that throw when you call his number. And the fact that Bama still has yet to decide on who their QB is going to be tells me that none of those guys have shown that they have that in them, which is really very concerning. Because Milroe last year didn't look very good. We know Buckner. We watched Buckner at Notre Dame. He's and no one knows about Ty Simpson. So I don't know. It's kind of concerning that they haven't picked anybody. The rest of the team obviously will be fine, but that QB question mark uh, really could that their question mark at QB could be a problem later on. Then number three we have Ohio State. The Buckeyes are obviously very good. The defense is only going to get better. They have a nasty defensive line. The secondary is fine. It's not the greatest. And then of course the offense is just as insane as you're ever going to see. I mean, this is still not like when they had it's still not the offense of which they had Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. all on the same team. But and let's not forget Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams because they were both on that team too. And then Fields. No, Stroud. Yes. No. Fields? No, it was Fields. Uh, Fields, Olave, Wilson, Njigba, Harrison, Mayan Williams, I'm pretty sure, as well as Travion Henderson. You guys get the point. Their offense was just insanely loaded, and it still is. They still have Marvin Harrison Jr., who might be better than Olave and Wilson and everybody else that's come out of there. He might be better than all of them. He's gonna be better than his dad, maybe. Uh, and then, of course, you have at QB, I guess Kyle McCorder, whoever it's going to be. Maybe the other guy. They're still trying to decide. You still got Travion Henderson and Mywin Williams at running back. As I said, Marvin Harrison Jr. still at receiver, as well as Emeka Ibuka, who's looked fantastic. And I'm sure they have a billion other receivers that will pop out this year. Then you have the tight end room, the offensive line, which is solid. Their team is dangerous again, and they're going to be another nasty unit. Question is, when this still kind of feels weird to say, but can they get over that Michigan hump? Normally, where I'm saying that the other way, but that's not the case anymore, which is so awesome to be able to say. I mean, it's only been 2 years, but you guys still get the point. They've you know um, they actually they have to come to the big house this year. Like I said, they have Penn State at home, so I mean those are two big games. Of course, against Michigan is at the end of the season, so. It'll be fun for sure. It's gonna be crazy. Um, but Buckeyes are nasty, and they're gonna be a playoff contender, as well as a title I'm sorry, they're a title contender. As simple as that. I mean, they're that good. Then next we have number 2, the Michigan Wolverines. Yeah, the Wolverines sit at number 2, just ahead of Ohio State. Gotta love to see it. Yeah, I'm sorry if you're an Ohio State fan. Well, no, I'm not. I'm obviously all y'all know I'm a huge Michigan fan. I love the Wolverines. Um, and I think if there's any chance for the Wolverines to win the title, this is their chance. This is the Wolverines' opportunity to finally win a championship. If they want to win it, I think this is it. I mean, Bama's got a new QB, Ohio State's got a new QB, Georgia's got a new QB, Penn State's got a new QB. The only teams that don't have a new QB are LSU, USC, Florida State, and Clemson. And, those teams may or may not end up in the playoff, but everybody else has got new QBs. And those are probably the likeliest teams that get to the playoff in what is still the 4-team format. So to me, if anybody is going to make it, if there's any year for Michigan who has a returning QB, who has several receivers returning, who has both of their running backs from last year returning, and a true freshman who looks really good, and different parts of their defense still returning. With all of that coming back, with namely McCarthy being the biggest one coming back. With all that returning, this is their chance. And they do have to play Penn State at Happy Valley, which is obviously not fun. They of course get the Buckeyes. At least that one's at home, but that's not going to be easy either. But this is their chance. If they want to win a title, I think this is their year to do it. That I know that's coming from a Michigan fan, but I'm just saying this is their chance. But that's it for the Wolverines for me. And then next we have the Georgia Bulldogs at number 1, the 2-time defending national champions. Georgia is they're insanely good. On defense, they have loads of talent. And they'll continue to be another top defensive unit again. The only question might be the offense, but their offense seems to always do enough to win games anyway. Okay, it's still lightning and thunder outside. They got a transfer, I believe, from Mississippi State as well as another team as well, which I can't remember what that transfer was, but they got two Oh yeah, Missouri. Dominic Lovett and I think Rara Thompson, or no, Rara Thomas. I don't know if he's still on the team. I know he had some legal issues. That seems to be a theme with Georgia players. But Georgia, their offense should be solid once again. They'll probably do as they have always done, enough to win games. Of course, against Ohio State last year, they show that they can put up a lot of points and still win. But Georgia, really good team. They'll be in the title conversation again, and I don't think there's really a question about that. Of course, Carson Beck is going to be a new QB, so we'll see what he's like. But yeah, great team. Probably going to win, most likely going to win the SEC again. Maybe someone else trips them up, but that's going to be pretty tough. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little bit longer than probably most top 25 videos, but because I never did a prediction video, because I never did a predictions video, I wanted to kind of go over the teams a little bit, just so that you got kind of my, insight into all the teams, because we never did do that throughout the year. So that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll have week 0 picks coming out along with this one, so be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you in that one. So until next time, adios, everyone.